just want to bring Andrea Morley up here. I'm going to introduce her a lot more in depth after this afternoon. But Andrea is she's going to lead us in a bit of a stretch because we're sitting down and our joints are all stiff and starchy. So please come up here, Andrea, and help us limber up for our break coming up.
All right, so that was an incredible presentation by Shauna, and I am hoping that I can kind of piggyback off of that just a little bit in order to maybe bring a little bit of inspiration into the room. As she said, she's asking what all of you are going to do today to contribute to a healthier workforce tomorrow. And I'm hoping that I can inspire this room to maybe do something for yourselves in addition to your employees in order to bring a little bit more health into your lives. Now, we're going to do a couple of things. So yes, we are doing the stretch break, but we are also, I also want to go over a presentation, or sorry, not a presentation. I want to go over a little bit of research that I came across recently that talked about exercise and function at work, okay? So the study that we're looking at, or the research that we're looking at, took a look at 15 different studies in Denmark among 3,500 employees, and they studied all different various occupations, and what they did was over the course of 10 weeks to 2 years, was they prescribed 1 hour of exercise that was supervised every single week. And it was only 1 hour, okay? And during that hour, that was actually like during their work week, it was included in one of their work days. During that hour, they did various types of exercise. They did stretching, they did strength training, there was cardio components. Now, this actually had some really incredible results. So, of course, for the testing, they did questionnaires, they took blood samples, they did muscle samples at baseline and follow-up. So, the results that we saw from this was that there was a significant improvement in several different areas and categories in all of the job categories that they looked at. So there was everything from dentists to construction workers, healthcare workers, to professional cleaners in these studies. Now, what they found was that, or at least some of the results that they found, was that neck pain, for example, was reduced in office staff, computer workers, dentists, lab technicians, healthcare workers, people that are maybe a bit more sedentary, looking at computers throughout their workday or looking into a mouth, if we're talking about the dentists. They also saw that in office staff, construction workers, healthcare workers, there was significant improvements in cardiorespiratory fitness. And what they found as far as productivity, which I think is also very important in this room today, was that after just 3 months, despite these workers, these 3,500 workers actually spending 1 hour of their work week exercising, there was actually an 8% increase in productivity among the healthcare workers, which I think is pretty significant. Even though they were spending less time actually doing their job, they were able to become more productive in that job just by spending 1 hour a week exercising. Dentists also had a self-reported, so of course take that with a grain of salt, but a self-reported improved quality of work. And in a profession such as dentistry, quality of work, I think, matters quite a bit. So again, maybe this isn't the most noteworthy study or piece of research that we've ever seen as far as fitness for duty goes, but I do think that it is quite interesting just to note how something as insignificant as 1 hour of exercise per week, of course that's not what we typically hear as being recommended, but the improvements that that can have on somebody's fitness for duty or on their job obviously is appearing to be relatively significant from this piece of research. So how do we incorporate something like this into our workplace, into our corporate wellness programs? Now, I'm not going to talk about how to actually create a corporate wellness program. There's going to be in the panel later on maybe some more tips on that. And of course, there's other studies and presentations that you can look at if you have an interest in that. But what I think is important to take away from this study or this research is that it's really important that we work to balance out what each different job category entails and support what that job actually requires. So for office work, they're the people with the neck pain, they're sedentary, they're not getting a lot of cardiovascular work throughout their day. So we would want to support them in those areas and encourage them to work on those areas, maybe provide them with the resources that they need to work on those types of things. The cardio, the strength training, stretching, just so that they can have a little bit of pain reduction from the tension that staring at their computer for 8 hours a day might be causing. If there is a strenuous physical job, maybe some areas of construction, we would want to encourage stretching, of course, and see if we can reduce their pain levels. Of course, we would want to look at things like strength training as well, if necessary, for their job. But this isn't something that we're ever going to require of them. Again, remember that this is just something that we would want to provide them as an optional area of, say, a corporate wellness program. Professional cleaners, this study showed us that we would want to look at things like balance control and strength for them to be able to be more productive and successful in their roles. And then, of course, we can't forget the mental health component, so then we would be looking at jobs that may be a little bit more stressful and taxing on their mental health, and encouraging or offering resources for things like relaxation and stress reduction techniques. Now, how do we do this? Of course, corporate wellness programs are going to be important here, but other little tidbits that maybe don't require a lot of administration or a lot of upfront costs, we can look at things like flex hours, just so that maybe they're able to get to the gym at a better hour. If they're able to choose whether they start at 7 a.m. or 9 a.m., maybe that is what's going to make the difference for them as far as getting to the gym a couple of days a week. Healthcare spending accounts can also be a fantastic way for people to have their gym memberships subsidized, or some workout equipment at home subsidized. Offering actual gym memberships is fantastic, or having an on-site gym is one of my favorite ways to incorporate the option for physical activity at work. And then workout clubs and groups are also fantastic. I'm getting a little bit too in-depth in all the ways to offer wellness at your company, but again, I just wanted to give you a little bit of education on this area. The biggest takeaway from this research for me was that it truly does not require a significant amount of time to see major results for yourself or for your employees when it comes to your productivity at work and how well you are able to perform your job. Now, the majority of this conference is, of course, focused on your employees and your staff and doing what we can to make sure that they are fit for duty. But I think that this is a really good opportunity for you to think about yourself and give yourself that little bit of love and attention that you deserve as well. Because your job is important and your fitness for duty is important, even though you may not have a physical job or a safety-sensitive job, it is still important for you to feel good in that job. So, on that note, I want to get all of you up and moving a little bit, if you're able to do so, because at this point, if you were here yesterday, you spent a lot of time sitting, looking up at the front, and today you have now done so for a couple of hours. If you're like me, I wasn't here yesterday, I wasn't able to be here, but I got on the road at 5 o'clock this morning, so I have now spent several hours sitting. So I would love, if you are able to do so, for you to stand up and join me in a short little stretch break, just to get the blood moving a little bit, to maybe release a little bit of tension that you might be feeling, and just to feel better so that we can enjoy the rest of this conference. Now, of course, if you have any areas that are problem areas for you, if you experience pain or are having any injuries, then of course I want you to exercise a lot of caution and not work on those areas. So we are going to work through the body from kind of head to toe and just do some very, very basic stretches. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. We are just going to focus on the areas that maybe need a little bit of love and attention right now. So that is going to be, as you can see, the neck, the torso, maybe the hips and hamstrings from sitting for long periods of time. So the first area we're going to do is the neck. Very simply, I'm going to have you stand this entire time with relatively good posture if you can, okay? I like this, I'm seeing everyone adjust. All right, next I will just have you look to the left. If you can look directly at the 90-degree angle to the left, that's fantastic. If you're not able to do so, if your range of motion doesn't allow for that, that's okay. Just do what you can and stretch to the point where you do feel that little bit of tension, but never any pain. And then when you're ready, bring back to center, look back towards the front, and then switch to the other side, feeling that same stretch on the opposite side. I didn't know we were going to be joined by Beyonce today. This is good, I like this. All right, look back at the front. And then we are just going to, again, stand with good posture, and then bring your left ear to your left shoulder. If you're like me, this one might be a little bit more difficult for you. But again, very important, especially if you have a lot of neck tension, maybe you experience a lot of tension headaches. I know I can fall into that category when I'm not careful, and working on reducing that tension. You don't, again, have to get your ear to your shoulder, but just feeling that little bit of a stretch on the right side. All right, standing back up and then switching over to the right side, bringing the ear closer to the right ear closer to the right shoulder. All right, standing back up straight. Now, normally we would be holding stretches for maybe closer to 30 seconds. We're moving through this just a little bit more quickly, but I just want to show you how just a few minutes of stretching can actually make you feel that much better during the day. Next up, we're gonna work a little bit on the torso, a little bit kind of through the side body. So what I will have you do, again, good posture, perfect. And then bringing your right arm up, and then sliding this left arm down towards your knee. You don't have to get all the way to the knee, but just sliding it down, maybe even just a couple of inches down your thigh. And then you should feel that stretch all through the right side of your body. Not an area that's very easy to stretch out when you are sitting facing the front of the room, when you're driving, when you are sitting behind your desk for 8 hours a day. Now, of course, we'll switch. Bring the left arm up and slide the right arm down your right thigh. All right, stand back up straight. Next, I want to do a little bit of a twist, but again, I really want to emphasize if you do have any spinal issues, any back issues, this one may not be for you. However, it is a fantastic stretch and it feels really, really good. Just a good way to, not even a stretch, but a good way to get a little bit more mobility through that area. So bring your hands in front of you, like so, perfect. Hands just on top of each other. And with your hips facing forward, square to the front, I'll just have you rotate your upper body to the left or to the right. If you went the other way, that's okay. And then we're just gonna hold that, again, as much as you can, keeping your hips square in front of you, and your nose should always follow your hands. You can bring that back to the front now, pause there, and then twisting over to the right side. Only do what you can. Don't force yourself to go further than your body is willing to do. And then bringing that back to the front. Let's do that one more time. So nose following your hands, twisting over to the left side. back to the front, and then twist to the right. All right, face the front again. I am actually glad that I saw a couple people sit out of 1 or 2 exercises, because that meant that you were honoring what your limitations are, and that's fantastic. Okay, we have got one more area to stretch out just a little bit, the lower body. Okay, so we will first do the hips, because I find that sitting all day at that 90-degree angle creates so much hip tension for me, okay? Right in the front here, we're gonna do what we can to just stretch out this area. So you are going to plant one foot about a foot in front of you, and then you will kind of lunge into that front foot, keeping your back foot straight, or your back leg straight, sorry. And then hands on your hips, and very gently push your hips forward, move your hips forward so that you are feeling a stretch in your back leg's hip. Yes, right? I should have faced this way. There we go. So the stretch should be right in the hip of your back leg. Lunging into that as much as is comfortable for you. Standing back up when you're ready, and then switching to the other leg. Oh, almost lost a heel. All right, other foot, 1 foot in front of you, lunging into that, front leg bent, back leg straight, and then feeling the stretch. I didn't switch. Feeling the stretch in the hip of your back leg. Okay, perfect. Now, again, another 90-degree angle when we are sitting is behind the legs in the hamstrings, which can get quite tight. It doesn't mean that you need to be able to touch your toes all the time, or when you're sitting, be able to touch your toes with straight legs, but releasing a little bit of tension back there and working on that area can help provide a lot more mobility and reduced pain for some people, because that area, or all areas of your body, can create a lot of tension in other areas if you don't focus on them just a little bit. So for the hamstrings, it's kind of similar, so try to follow along and I'll try to explain it clearly. So we are going to take the right foot, plant that heel 1 foot in front of you, keeping the front leg straight this time, back leg bent, yes, and then leaning, hinging at the hips to lean forward so that you feel the stretch behind your leg in that hamstring area. Standing back up and switching so that you are planting the left leg with the heel 1 foot in front of you, bending the back leg, front leg straight, hinging at the hips. This one's a little hard in heels. And feeling that stretch in your left hamstring this time. All right, you can stand back up, give that all a little shake. I hope that you have all felt the benefits of that quick little stretch break, and that you will maybe start to incorporate stretches into your workday, into your routine a little bit more regularly, just so that you can feel more focused, more productive, and feel less pain than you usually do. All right, thank you so much. I look forward to being back up here for the panel later.